this means, go deeper, go, on an exploratory journey about how the relationship with yourself is reflected in the relationships that you have with others. And it is that way. Your happiness inside is reflected externally. It's not the other way around. It's not your external circumstances. It's not chasing the next thing to make you happy. Happiness is your intended state of being. It's your natural state of being. And we often have to unlearn and clear away the things that are preventing us from accessing this intended state of being.
Welcome to Radiant Mom Rising. Get ready to be inspired, empowered, and uplifted. I'm your host, Mary Dibble, and in each episode, we dive into amazing stories, insights, and conversations that help moms like you chase your dreams and embrace your worth. Let's rise and shine together. Hey there, Radiant Moms. Welcome to Radiant Mom Rising, the podcast where we dive into all things transformation, empowerment, and building a life that lights you up. I'm your host, Mary Dibble, and today I'm so excited to share this space with a truly inspiring guest, Christy Holt. Christy is a self-proclaimed happiness hussy, adventure guide, podcast host to create your happy, an international best-selling author on a mission to spread happiness around the planet. Christy is a mentor for whole-ass humans who, using her signature CREATE method, she adventures alongside of her heart-led clients to support and love them as they discover and unlearn. Christy's mentorship helps her clients to create a life they love, full of loving and healthy relationships that make them truly happy. In this episode, Christy and I are pulling back the curtain on the power of rewriting your story, breaking free from limitations, and creating lasting change. If you've ever felt stuck, unsure of your next step, or like life is happening to you instead of for you, this conversation is exactly what you need. So grab a cozy spot, tune in, and get ready for an episode filled with powerful insights, heartfelt stories, and practical tools to help you reclaim your narrative and start living the life you deserve. Welcome back to Radiant Mom Rising. I am very excited to introduce you to today's guest. We have met recently and we just really clicked, and I just love meeting down-to-earth women who just are easy to talk to, and we just have a good time chatting. So Christy, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Mary. I'm super excited to be here. I know the conversation we had was so much fun before, so I can't wait to obviously not do the same conversation exactly again, but that same energy. I'm excited to bring that today.
Absolutely. So why don't we kick it off with you just introducing yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do.
Sounds good. So as you mentioned already, my name is Christy Holt. I actually call myself the Happiness Hussy, which is kind of a fun, cute story. It sort of came by accident as my cousin sort of sarcastically, jokingly called me a happiness hussy because I'm so positive. And I was like, hell yeah, let's keep that. Let's take that one to the bank. That actually totally fits the mission I'm on, because I'm here on a mission to spread happiness across the world. And so what better title for me than the Happiness Hussy? Now, aside from that fun title, I am also a podcast host of Create Your Happy. I am an author. I have several books published. I got a new one coming out really soon. I am a mentor, a course creator, a mom to 4 teenage boys. And I have to slow down because I don't want anyone to think that's 14, 4 teenage boys. I am blissfully partnered, although I haven't always been so. And I love to share all the things that I can that I've learned along the way from my own lessons, which is what we're going to have a conversation about today. So.
Absolutely. And that's wonderful. And I love the journey that you're on and all the amazing happiness and inspiration you're bringing to so many people around the world. So let's get into your story. Share with us a little bit your journey, what you've been through that led you down this path.
Isn't it interesting how our stories, every little single moment adds up to right here where we are right now in this moment? And I always think it interesting that a lot of people ask me, like, would you change things? If you could go back, would you do things differently? And I always say no. So here's a little bit of my story, and I'll get to the part about why I say no, and remind me if I don't circle back. I hopefully will get there. Sometimes I squirrel because I'm human, right?
Oh yeah, me too.
And we're like that sometimes. So, about 8 to 10 years ago, I found myself in a really unhappy relationship. I was anxious before my feet would hit the floor in the morning. I was overwhelmed with all of the things that I had to do. I actually felt I suffered from, and I say suffered from because I say this like very tongue in cheek, from what I call just a momitis, which is essentially to say I didn't know who the fuck I was anymore, right? I was a mom, I was a wife, I was a housewife, I was responsible for these things. And I felt kind of lost because for me, and of course, there are plenty of women out there that is exactly their dream and exactly what fulfills them. For me, there was something missing. And now I've always been, a creative person, someone who likes to create things, someone who likes to share. I have been a teacher at heart, I think, my entire life. I think I spent actually, I don't even know if I've ever shared this specifically in an interview, but it seems very relevant that I spent a lot of time, I was an only child. I spent a lot of time playing school when I was younger. I loved to teach. And funny enough, my first business was actually teaching piano. And I started that when I was 14. So that was sort of my first foray into owning my own business. I then went on, I got a business degree, became a professional accountant, was a professional accountant for about 5 years until I started having my kids. I did not like it. It was not a fit for me. I tell this often. I remember very early on in my accounting career that we did some sort of personality assessment and they put the results up on the board and it was a color, it was like some kind of color wheel. I think someone's told me lately that was called disc or something. It doesn't matter. Point being, my experience was one of these things is not like the other. And that was me. I was way over in one category that was like friendly and outgoing and networking and all of these things. And then everyone else was like analytical black and white thinkers. And I was like, oh shit, like I might be in the wrong place for this. So, anyways, I had my kids, I left that career, but this is all these little pieces playing into where I am now, right?
Yeah.
And my kids' dad and I, it wasn't a good fit. That's what I'm gonna say really about that. We were not a match. We did not get along. I honestly got trapped in that idea that I could change him, that I could change things, that things could improve. And I wholeheartedly do believe that people can change and they have to want it for themselves. And that is where I ran into some of the snafus because I could not want it enough for him to change. He just wasn't wanting to grow and improve in that way. He was a very black and white thinker. So it makes sense, I guess, that I would find myself on the way to someone who thinks like that when I'm also amidst a career that's people like that. And I woke up one day and it wasn't really a wake up one day, but I'm going to share it like that because it makes a more interesting story. And it kind of was, and it kind of wasn't, because all of these pieces play together into that wake up one day moment where I realized I had been doing a lot of complaining, a lot of blaming, a lot of focusing on things that I didn't want. And I realized I'm the common denominator in all of those problems, which initially was like, like, oh my gosh, it's me. I'm doing this. I'm part of it. I'm contributing to it. And at least I know not to be beating myself up over it because this is how we learn. Humans make mistakes. We learn, we grow, we do things quote unquote wrong that really isn't wrong. It's just something that we're going to learn that didn't work for us. Yes. Right. So ultimately I chose to be very compassionate with myself. And instead of worrying about the things that I could have, would have, should have done, which we humans love to do, I decided to focus on what can I do now? What can I do today, here, now, moving forward that is going to actually shift the needle? And I realized that was going to be me. That was going to be me looking myself in the eye, looking at my quote unquote dirty laundry, looking at what I may have been contributing, the patterns that I may have been falling into myself, and really taking radical responsibility for my role in that relationship. Sometimes it actually has a ripple effect, and I've seen it with many other people where that ripple effect changes their relationship. Their softening softens their partner. Their shifting invites their partner. In my case, that wasn't the case. And I ended up leaving because actually the more I got to know myself, the more I dislodged myself from just a momitis and not knowing who I was, and the more I started following the call, like, I don't know how else to say that, but like this call to something more for me. I knew there was something more. I just decided to answer that call. And I realized that this relationship just wasn't a fit. Like, that's all there was to it. It didn't mean there was something bad or wrong about me. I will refrain judgment on my ex. We're exes for a reason, but he's still the father of my children. And I want him to be happy too. And for us, the best decision, though he might not have agreed with it at the time, was actually to go our separate ways because we just were not happy together. We were in these same patterns, same repeating. It was like same shit, different day, over and over and over, Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
And I just got to the point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. This is not living. This is barely surviving. And I knew there was more for me.
Oh man, that's awesome. Good for you for recognizing that and not and
Yeah.
being brave enough to like just do it because I can imagine so many people that I've talked to and that I or even are in this situation, they're so scared of the unknown, the uncertainty of what's next, or thinking that how am I going to afford to take care of my kids by myself? How am I going to, be alone again? Like I don't even know where to go, where to get started. So tell us a little bit about your experience with that and speak on that a little bit as far as someone who may be in that situation of wanting to leave but they don't know how.
It is both the most difficult decision and the best decision that I have ever made. When I was in my marriage, I really did for a very long time think that I was protecting my kids by keeping our family together. And of course, religious beliefs play into this. We've got societal beliefs about divorce. We've got, the idea that divorced women are used up baggage.
Yeah,
I
crazy.
definitely for sure thought I'm a mom of three at that time, three boys. Like I will be single until I die because who would want this, right? That was my line of thinking. And so I completely resonate with what you said. I remember actually a conversation with a good friend of mine. We were talking about that uncertainty, and I literally was like, certainty is my top value. So uncertainty really, really pushed me outside of my comfort zone. So that's probably why I stayed longer, maybe than I could have, maybe past the time where I knew that I
Yeah,
should be looking at leaving. And again, I don't like to shoot on myself. I believe that you're ready when you're ready. Like
yeah,
no one else can tell you. It's not someone else's decision. I see people all the time posting, all over social media and Reddit and whatnot, like, should I stay or should I go? Like, girl, that is only an answer you can provide, right?
I
You
love
are the
that.
only one who has the full picture.
Yeah,
And I know that when you're in these kinds of relationships, especially ones with unhealthy dynamics, I'm not going to say like with toxic people because we both play a part in this. So again, I'm owning my piece of
yeah,
that interaction, but we don't know what to expect. It's terrifying. We don't know how they're going to react. We don't know what the outcome is going to be. There's so much uncertainty, and the truth is we have to be ready to lean into that, right? And there's no one else that will know if you're ready to take that leap except you. Now, most of the time when people are saying like, should I stay, should I go, this is a situation with you probably know,
yeah,
right? You just want some validation from someone else to say it's okay. And so here it is. Here's your blanket permission slip. If this is what you've been waiting for some time to muster up the courage, here's the permission slip. You know what? You have the permission.
yes,
Fuck those rules about you're supposed to stay married till you die. You made a commitment,
yes,
yes, and that takes two parties to uphold. And so if you're not happy, no one wants you to stay miserable and unhappy in a relationship, like not even the people that love you the most. And
yeah,
again, you're the only one who knows. So trust yourself. And if you are having problems trusting yourself, because sometimes when you're in unhealthy dynamics, this is what I was going to say earlier, it can be really hard to trust yourself. You may feel like you've made multiple bad decisions. You may realize, like I did, kind of one day also had this realization, like it was like, you're driving home and you're kind of in your head, you're off in la la land, you're just doing your thing. You've
yeah,
driven this road before. You get home and you realize, like, I don't remember the drive. I don't remember stopping at the
mhm,
stop sign or the red light. I don't remember it. Like, obviously I must have, but how did I get here? I don't remember the drive. And that was sort of my aha moment as well in my relationship. Like, how did I get here where this behavior
yeah,
seems like I have tolerated things to get to this point, right? And no more. I came to the point where I was like, absolutely, I am no longer available, will not tolerate this any longer. And it got to that breaking point for me. And it doesn't have to get to a breaking point for everybody. But
Yeah.
I think a lot of us do sort of need that last push into the unknown. Listen,
Yeah.
the unknown is where magic happens. So as long as you are spending all this time fearing what might happen outside your, comfortable bubble of what's certain and familiar, remember that miracles happen in the outside the comfort zone area, right? Miracles, opportunities, possibilities you couldn't even imagine exist are
Yeah.
waiting for you just outside your comfort zone. And so if you need that permission slip, just go on and take it. I give it to
Yes.
you. I love you. You deserve happiness and better. And so take this. Go and
Yes.
choose yourself and make a life that you truly love.
I love that. That is beautiful advice. And so many people, I'm sure, who are listening need to hear this. And I'd love for you to let us know too, like what happened with your journey. Like share a little bit of some of the
Yeah.
struggles you first faced when you made that decision and you went on, and what some of the ways you picked yourself back up after that.
And this is I'm going to tie this back into that piece at the beginning of
Yes.
why I wouldn't change anything, because this journey is what made me
Yeah.
who I am today. And I don't mean that like I'm so great. I just mean I gleaned so much actual wisdom from those experiences. And we don't always. We can
Yeah.
make mistakes. We can, quote unquote, fuck around and find out and not learn, right?
Yeah.
We can get information and we can not apply it. That's also possible. And lots of us do that, myself included. I'm human too.
Yeah.
But all of those little pieces were experiences. They created context for other experiences. They gave me experiential knowledge that is just so much more helpful when it comes to living this life, creating experiences, building relationships that I would not have had I not gone through this school of hard knocks, if you will,
Yeah.
right? And learn things the kind of hard way, the difficult way, the way that felt really uncomfortable, the way that really stretched me and made me look at myself when I did not want to, right?
Nobody
So I'll
does.
tell you, like that period of time is honestly can be a bit of a blur because it was so all over the place. Humans are beautifully complex.
Yeah.
I remember feeling relief, grief, happiness, joy, disappointment, sorrow, everything all at the same time. In fact, it was just one of the heaviest emotional times I think that I've ever been through. And actually, this was my second divorce, and that's a story for a whole nother thing.
Hey there, Mama. We're going to take a quick break because I have something truly special I'd love to share. If you're a mom with big dreams of starting your own business, or you're already running one while juggling the demands of family life, I see you. I really do. I know what it's like to have endless to-do lists, to feel the weight of the world on your shoulders, or even trying to find any kind of time for yourself while everyone else is needing something from you. Some days it feels like you're being pulled in 100 different directions and you wonder if it's even possible to do it all. Well, here's the truth. You don't have to do it all, and you definitely don't have to do it alone. My Mom Biz Mastery course and community is designed to help you take back your time, ignite your business goals, and to do it all without burning out. It's filled with practical, real world strategies tailored to fit your busy life. You'll get step by step guidance. And here's the exciting part, I'm now offering 6 private one on one coaching sessions alongside the course for even further support to ensure you thrive every step of the way. And if you're craving more personalized guidance, I also do offer one on one coaching with limited spots. But together, we'll create a plan that feels right for you, helping you get unstuck and step confidently into the life and business you've always dreamed of. So, Mama, if you're ready to put your dreams first, let's chat. Click the link in the show notes to schedule a free consultation. It's the first step towards making it all happen. You deserve to thrive, and I'm here to help you every step of the way. Now, back to the show.
But this was much more difficult because of my kids were involved and I had a lot more emotionally invested in this relationship. But when I realized I wasn't actually protecting them by staying,
Yeah.
I was actually normalizing an unhealthy relationship dynamic and creating a model for what they would likely go out and create for themselves. That hit me like a ton of bricks. And after I connected those dots, like, holy shit, this is what I'm modeling for my kids. And this is, studies have shown
Yeah.
we repeat those patterns, right? So it is almost a certainty that at least a couple of my kids would go out and create something like that if I didn't show them a different way of being, a different way of relating, a different way, never mind the relationship. I didn't know who I was. I was people pleasing. I was trying to manage things. I was walking on eggshells. I was doing all kinds of stuff I would never want my kids to feel like they have to do with someone who loves them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like this is not healthy dynamics. So it was a very dark time. I I do have a happy ending, of course, though, because
What it's all about.
right very shortly after so our house took a while to sell, so we end up living together throughout most of the more challenging piece of this, waiting for the house to sell because finances are sometimes a challenge. And so this was one of the most challenging parts, trying to keep the house perfect with so it could be shown at any given moment in time, right? Like with like 3 minutes notice, and three young boys. I think they were all under 10. And then also trying to cohabitate with someone who I have decided I am divorcing, and he has decided he is divorcing me, and we are not amicable at this point. Like we are avoiding each other. Like I literally, when it was like not my time to be the sole parent, because we were basically trialing, well, this is your time with the kids, right? So that you can practice solo parenting. And when it wasn't, I would sit in the parking lot at the grocery store and just cry. Like I was so lost, I didn't know what to do with myself. I will admit I had some very dark thoughts. Thankfully, I'm human and those thoughts are actually normal. So if you've ever had dark thoughts for a moment, but haven't acted on, like, you're normal,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
part of human to feel like, oh my gosh, like I don't know how I'm going to manage this. I am feeling so overwhelmed and lost and afraid of what is to come just because of the uncertainty. But it was all worth it.
Yeah.
All of that pain and discomfort was worth it because, man, I can't even imagine having gone through COVID in that relationship. I would have lost my mind. Would have lost my mind. But as it turns out, my house sold after about 5 months on the market. And I was planning to run a marathon that same weekend. My house sold, I ran the marathon, and I met my current partner while running the marathon
No
all in the
way.
same weekend. So, like, literally Friday, I was like, oh my God, I'm finally free. Okay. And then, well, free and then crazy enough to actually run a marathon, which I had been training for.
Wow.
And then met this partner. If I back up the story just a little bit, about a year before that, I had been working with a therapist, and she helped me do some really difficult work, which was to figure out what I truly wanted in a relationship. Listen, I could tell you all day till Sunday what I did not want. I had a list.
Yeah.
But to figure out what I
What?
actually wanted and what that would actually look like, I'm telling you, it was a stretch for my mind at that time. And I could not get off of the things that I didn't want, right? Like I was like, I don't want to be sworn at. I don't want to be having to manage other people's emotions. Like I don't want fighting. I don't want yelling. I don't want threatening. Like, right. I have this list of all these, like, absolutely not, which is really good. That's a good start. And she helped me to figure out what a really healthy, loving, good relationship for me would look like. How would I feel in that? And it wasn't about qualities or characteristics of like what they would look like and how much money they have, or, if they're tall enough or whatever kind of stuff that most people put on their wish list.
Yeah.
Mine was, I want someone who will make me feel cherished.
Yeah.
I want someone who I can laugh with every single day. I want someone who, no matter how long we've been together, we still can't keep our hands off each other. These are the things that I put in my list,
Yes,
right? Someone who I can have deep,
yeah.
meaningful conversations with, someone who I can tell my deepest, darkest fears to. And instead of them ridiculing me
Yeah.
because they're not emotionally capable of dealing with someone else's discomfort, they would just sit there with me. Right. And they don't have to have all the answers. My God, most people try and be like, oh, I just want to fix it. I want to. No,
They just
sometimes we
listen.
just need to be
Yeah,
there.
and be heard, and it's so amazing these things you're saying, because I went through the same thing, and this is part of what I found eventually too with the man I'm with today, because it's so, like I said, we're going on almost 9 years, and we sometimes are like, he is my best friend. Like we
Yeah.
love hanging out, we love doing stuff. We can stay up, we'll dance in the kitchen still, because I remember that being one of the things I used to say. It's like it would be nice for someone to get me something, just because, like, I'm not a big gift person. I've never been that way because I don't even spend money on myself. But if I did have somebody who did buy me things, it's like not just because it's a birthday or an anniversary. And that's all my husband does. Like he'll just randomly get me stuff just because I make a comment about something that, oh, I wish I had this or whatever. And he knows I won't go buy it for myself. So he'll buy it for me. Or he'll just bring me flowers randomly because he just wants me to be able to see something nice in the house to lift up my spirits. And like that, Man, I love that. I love that journey that you did that and she had you do that work because you're right. It's so hard for us to admit even like what we really want because I think there's that part of us that feels like
Mhm.
it's not possible, so why even say it? But let
Or
me
maybe
tell
I'm
you
not worthy of it.
exactly,
That's
exact
really what it was
yes.
for me. That's what
Yeah.
it boiled down to. Is like, I don't know if I deserve this. Some part of me was not
Yeah.
sure. Like, could I even have this? Was it possible for me? Did I deserve it? Was I worthy of
Yes.
having it? And luckily, she at least convinced me for a brief moment. She didn't convince me of all that. That was a little bit longer of a journey.
Of
She
course.
did convince me in the moment that regardless of any of that, of whether it was possible or worthy, I was still able to write it down and
Yeah.
express that I desired it, right? And
Yes.
that is fine to desire things. So it's interesting that while I'm running this marathon, I meet this incredible human, which I wasn't looking. In fact, I'll tell you what, I was like, I'm finally free. I'm not
Yes.
doing this again. I'm just going to be me. I wasn't looking for anything.
Yeah.
And I crushed my goal, by the way, if anybody was, wondering how my marathon turned out. Crushed my goal. He was actually the pace bunny. And so I chased him essentially the whole time. And for anybody out there listening who has not run a longer
Yeah.
race and is like, what the hell is a pace bunny? It's just someone who runs at a specific pace so that if you followed them, you would achieve your goal. So he ran at the steady pace to get me there at the finish line at the time that I had planned, which I actually got there a few minutes ahead of schedule, which was even better. But
Awesome.
somewhere around like the 3 hour mark when I'm starting to think like, oh, it's only, see my face. Can you hear my face in
No.
this? It's only
Totally.
an hour more at this point. It's only 10 more kilometers. Like I can do this, right? But my body was like, the fuck you are. No, everything's falling apart here. So what are you thinking? So in an effort to overcome my nonsense mind and just power through this, I knew I could do it. It hurt, but I knew I could do it. I just started chatting him up. At this point, it was just basically him and I. The other people that had kind of started with that goal in mind had kind of fallen behind. And so we just kind of got to know each other. And it wasn't really intended to be anything more than that, but he just seemed like just a really genuine guy. And when I crushed my goal, I was like, let's meet up for a drink. Like, I just want to, say thank you for helping me crush my goal. Like, I wouldn't have been able to do that without all this,
Yeah.
nonsense conversation and getting to know you there at the end while I needed to shut my brain off. And yeah, the rest is kind of history. I spent a lot of the first few months of our relationship like really referring back to my list. Like I was literally looking for red flags, okay? I had just gone out of a not healthy dynamic. I came in hard with the boundaries. Listen, I like told him, I'm like, I don't want a commitment right now. I will tell you right now that if you ever swear at me like we are done, I will not give a second chance. I told him I'm not going to look after anyone. I got 3 children. Like I can't
Yeah.
look after a grown man, okay? Like I can't be the sandwich maker. I can't be the one who's only responsible for cooking, cleaning, managing the house and all of the things. Like I don't want that. I would rather be myself so that I don't have another human to look after.
Yeah.
And he was just like, yeah, like, of course. Like every time I was just like tell him like a boundary that I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to tolerate this. I'm like so hard. I'm like, I'm not going to tolerate this. And he's like, oh my God, why would
Anyone, right?
anyone treat you like that? And I'm like, I know, right? Like I'm fucking awesome. But yeah, it was funny because he was everything that was on that list and then some. And I do like to joke that I forgot to put like millionaire on my list. I totally am
I
kidding
would.
because it's not important. But I joke because that's like the only thing. Like we could be millionaires. Like
Yeah.
that's other than that, I really don't feel like my life is missing anything. And he he also helped me to reflect. Now, not only did I know how to create a healthy relationship with him, and I was like, oh, thank God, the problem is not me. I know what I'm doing, it's fine. But he helped me to really understand what were the crucial pieces of that,
Yeah.
right? Because I wanted to show other people and tell other people how can you create this for yourself as well, whether you're in a relationship with someone that you want to fix and they're the right person to do that, because that's not
Yeah.
always the case, right? In
Yeah.
my case, it wasn't the right decision to stay, but in many people's cases they have a loving partner they've just gotten disconnected from, and by shifting themselves they can have this massive ripple effect which can change their relationships from the inside out, or you can change your relationship with yourself from the inside out and realize you're not available for
Yeah.
any more mistreatment or crappy relationship dynamics or people who drain your energy. You can go out there and create the amazing, epic relationships that you desire and you deserve. And it starts with you. And this is the biggest piece of this, if you're going to take anything away, is that it all
Yeah.
starts with you. I spent years looking at other people, wishing other people or circumstances would change. And in the end, I realized there was no knight in shining armor coming to save me. I had to save myself. By saving myself, I chose me. I chose what would make me happy. And I started going out there and creating it. And I attracted all of the incredible people and experiences that I have had since, because I'm intentional about creating it. That's really where the magic sauce is. When you do that for yourself first, like people will just come, be like, where did you come from? You're just running a marathon beside me. Okay. Like,
Yeah.
right? Like the universe will deliver when you are ready.
Absolutely, it will. And that is why we're here. That's why we're
Yeah.
sharing this, because we wouldn't have even met. We wouldn't even be here today right now if we didn't put ourselves out there
Yeah.
to be vulnerable and to share and open ourselves to meet. And so I
Yeah.
love it because it is about us choosing us for once, right? We are so like conditioned to take care of everything and everyone else,
Yeah.
but it's time to take care of us, and it's time to really make our lives what we want it to be and give ourselves the permission to just be messy with it, just try things. And
Yeah.
so what if it doesn't work out in one way? You'd be surprised what other opportunities will open along the way that you probably never even thought of for your own life. So go out there and make that magic happen. And I really love the whole message you bring about focusing on what you do want, because I think that is a struggle and a block for so many people. And if we can find a way to work through that and really allow ourselves to not limit what it is we want. Like if you do want to be a millionaire, freaking say you want to be a millionaire. Like
Yeah.
just
Just
say it.
own it. It's
Own
not
it.
even that much money nowadays.
I know, right? It's isn't that crazy? So it's like, but
Yeah.
the thing is though, is there really is like money is out there. It is always surrounding us, and it's up to us to do the things and put ourselves in situations where we can become that millionaire, where we can attract that soulmate or attract that right, opportunity, whether it be like you really want a promotion or you want to start that business and you want it to thrive or be successful. It's not gonna just happen until we get out there and allow it to unfold in some way
Yes.
or another. So that's what you have to ask yourself, what can I do now to get me just a little closer to it? And yeah, I think it's incredible. And also please share with us too, like you said, you're an author. Like
Yeah.
when did that play out in your life? Tell us a little bit about that journey you took to actually become an author.
Yeah, I mean, I had a sense probably a good decade ago that I was going to write a book. I loved writing even as a young girl. I loved like the Babysitter's Club and Sleepover Friends. And I wrote a bunch of novels, like probably when I was about 12,
Oh,
maybe in like
wow.
fifth or sixth grade, about similar storylines to those kind of books. Like those were my jam. And I
Oh,
have them in a box somewhere. I haven't been brave enough to read them, but yeah, they're there someday. Maybe someday something will happen with that. But I knew this time I was going to write a book. I didn't know about what, right? So when a couple of years ago COVID happened, I had started in coaching as a health coach. And so when COVID happened, I was teaching fitness classes, doing personal training and nutrition coaching. And that was where my focus was. And interestingly enough, as I evolve, and as I've grown and I've expanded beyond just that one piece of the puzzle, I've expanded my business as well. And so while I was doing health coaching, pandemic came, everything kind of switched. I went online. It did its thing. It was really great for a minute and then it was really not great. And so I started growing myself because I had this space. I'm like, well, I have the space and what can I learn? Because I'm someone who's a lifelong learner. I love to grow and expand. And I realized I had multiple books in me and I actually started writing a novel. And then I started writing another book about my create methodology. Neither of those have been published yet, but they were sort of my forays into
yeah.
writing. And I thought it was going to be, this big book that I was going to come up with until a couple of summers ago. I literally was just like, I'm just going to enjoy my summer. I'm not even going to try and find clients or work. Like, I just want to sit on my deck,
Yeah.
soak in the sun and just have a good time. Like, I don't want all this stress. And then a book dropped into my mind. I was like, oh, okay. So that's what I'm going to actually be doing. And so I took my first book, which was originally called Get the Fuck Unstuck, until I realized that Amazon doesn't let you advertise if you have curse words in your thing. So, okay, I made it a little bit more PG and I just renamed it Unstuck for Women. And so this book is essentially my boiled down version of like, how can you get unstuck from the overwhelm and the overthinking patterns, right? So that you can deal with your anxiety, come into the present moment, and consciously create the life that you truly want. Now, I also created a companion journal to go with it. So this is a daily self-discovery journey into figuring out who you are so that you can figure out what you want and what will align with your goals and values. And so these have been sort of building, and the book that I'm currently working on that is set to come out in fall of 2024. I don't have a specific date as of this moment, but it is about getting unstuck in love. And so this is the culmination of all of my relationship experiences put together and all of the wisdom that I've gleaned and all of the things that I've taken from like an idea and I've actually embodied it and lived it and created life with it. So I know how powerful it is. And all that to say, when you think you have a relationship problem, you probably don't. It's actually an identity problem. Further to what you said before, this is about knowing who you are and what you want, what your values are, and what aligns and what doesn't. A lot of my work focuses around authenticity. And I know that's like a big buzzword and everybody's like, oh, authenticity. But if you're not authentically you, you cannot find true happiness. And I will stake my flag in that one, because you cannot be happy trying to be someone else. You cannot be truly happy or at peace when you're trying to contort yourself to fit in or to, even to avoid conflict or whatever else the case may be. People pleasing, good girl conditioning that we've all been raised with to be the giver, the nurturer at all costs, has us murdering ourselves. And women in general who are in this pattern are dealing with bitterness, resentfulness, frustration, disappointment every single day. And I know it because I lived it. Sucks.
Yeah, it
Don't
does.
want anybody staying there any longer than you need to. And so this inner work, this looking at your identity and figure out, who am I? What is it that I'm here to create, will allow you to build a life that makes you truly happy. And I think that's what most of us are after. Not only that, but being authentically yourself allows you to create genuine connections with other people, not ones where you have to pretend, not ones where you have to suck in your gut, not ones where you have to wear a mask, right? But the ones where you can show up wholly, completely, authentically, unapologetically as you. This is your ticket into the healthy, happy relationships and life. Like this, I like to say the life, love, and legacy that you want to leave behind, because this authentic you is the pathway. And so that is largely one of the sort of underlying themes in my book about getting unstuck in relationship. And I have an entire podcast season diving into, like, we probably touched on, I think there's 25 episodes so far, and we've touched on probably like 15 of the things that I covered more in depth on my podcast. So if that's your jam and you want to find out more about like what this means, go deeper, go, on an exploratory journey about how the relationship with yourself is reflected in the relationships that you have with others. And it is that way. Your happiness inside is reflected externally. It's not the other way around. It's not your external circumstances. It's not chasing the next thing to make you happy. Happiness is your intended state of being. It's your natural state of being. And we often have to unlearn and clear away the things that are preventing us from accessing this intended state of being. That means clearing away the things that you are not, the beliefs that are no longer serving you, the stories that you've been telling that keep you in a less than happy situation. And I'm kind of talking there about like victim story, very apart from being a victim. So I absolutely separating those two. We can have bad things happen to us, and we don't have to continue to carry that with us indefinitely. So letting go of that story and stepping into empowered freedom requires you to be authentically you. If you're not, like, literally people may love you, but there's going to be a part of you that's going to be shutting down their full expression of love, because we're like, well, they don't know this one thing about me. There's this part that I've hidden away. And if they knew, maybe they wouldn't right? So there's always this doubt in yourself. If you're not just literally putting yourself fully out there and letting someone fully unconditionally love and accept you, you just won't have that experience. And in fact, most people don't think it exists because
Yeah.
they haven't had that experience, because they're holding part of themselves inside,
Oh
not
yeah.
allowing their whole self to be expressed. And my work is for the whole ass human. It is
Love
meeting
it.
you where you are
Yeah.
at.
Yeah.
It is, meeting you at the place where you're on your journey, figuring out together where it
Yeah.
is that you want to go, but it's your answers. It's not mine. I don't have your
Yeah.
answers. You're the one that has your truth. I'm just your guide, right? To help you
Yes.
be
Hmm.
guided back to yourself and to figure out what is your next step.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the relationship that you have with yourself is the foundation to everything. It's,
Yeah.
everything is relationship, even to money, to food, the world, the government, like everything is in relationship, and everything is reflected by this relationship, this connection you have with yourself. So that is the main area of my focus.
Love
And
it.
then once you have that foundation, then yes, you can work on better communication, you can work on expressing those boundaries, you can work on working through conflict in healthy manners. You can work on rekindling the fire if,
Yeah.
that's something that's been missing. It's all possible.
Yeah.
We start with this solid foundation.
It always starts with that foundation, doesn't it? It
Yeah.
really does. I mean, and going back to like sharing your truth with, if you have a partner out there that you're new with or you've been with for a while and there's parts of you that you've held back, if someone really loves you, like truly loves you in the way that you deserve to, they're going to be able to hear that and love you despite
Yeah.
of it. Because first of all, that's not who you are anymore. I remember with my husband sharing, some of my dark secrets of what I went through when I was a drug addict and when I was out in the streets and going from place to place. And it was hard because, he's never even done drugs. So this guy
Mm.
has no idea at
Yeah.
all what it's like. And Lord knows I didn't want to tarnish like what, because he knows me for who I am today. So he doesn't know this
Yeah.
other side of me and this other version. So I understand how hard it is sometimes to
Mhm.
share that with people and to be nervous, like, oh my God, they're going to judge. Is he going to look at me
Yeah.
different? Is he going to feel differently? No, absolutely not. Because you know why? He really loves me. And he also knows and understands like that, like just like I do, does not define who I am. That was just something I went through. And I am who I am today because of it. And like you say, that's why I have no regrets, even though that was hard and
Yeah.
awful, some of the things that I went through. But I came out of it. I made a decision years ago to change my life. And it's not only possible, but it is truly worth the journey and
Mm.
even the challenges and struggles you'll go through in the beginning, because of course that's going to be there. But I always tell people, I mean, isn't it worth just giving something better a chance and just staying in that crap,
Mm.
staying in that darkness, staying in the same old that already isn't making you happy? Like, what do you really have to lose then by just trying something better? Because the sooner you try that, the sooner you'll surprise yourself. I mean, the God in the universe is going to
Yeah.
show up for you, and you're going to see that things will work out in ways you never thought possible. You just have
Exactly.
to believe in yourself. You just have to bet on yourself. You just have to know it's possible, and then just see what you can do. Do what you can.
Yeah.
I know somebody in a similar situation who's in an unhappy place, and it's like she knows she wants to leave. She knows she wants to get the divorce eventually, but she's also knows that she's got a family to take care of, and she's not in a place financially to take care of them on her own. So she's
Mhm.
doing what she can to build up that in order to get to a point where she can. And I don't know if that, where that's going to lead her, how that's going to work out, but I'm proud of her for at least trying, at least looking at her options and what she can do to get to a point where she could leave. And that's what it's all about, is where are you now? Where do you want to go? And then figuring out the in between of like something you can do little by little, even to get you going so that you can reach that ultimate goal and change your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think first, I want to say, if you're in that situation and you're worried about finances, I would just speak to a lawyer, because just find out what that can look like for you, because it's just important that you have all of the information so that you
Yeah.
can decide accordingly, because maybe child support will be much more than you anticipated. Maybe support from the government will help. Maybe there is a way to make it work. And maybe there isn't, based on the finances at this point. But at least if you have all of the information, then you have the things that you can use to
Yeah.
help you make the proper decision.
Yeah.
The other thing that I want to say is to really emphasize that you don't have to become someone else. This isn't about becoming someone else. This isn't about being on the, like the endless treadmill of personal improvement, right? And a lot of self-help really puts you on that like endless healing journey. Like there's always another thing to heal. I approach things a little bit differently.
Really?
I see you already as whole. You're already whole. There's nothing missing from you. You're not broken. You don't need fixing. You just need to remember that you're already whole and you're actually perfectly designed exactly as you are. Your so-called flaws and weaknesses and vulnerabilities, they're exactly perfect for you. And so if you can start to operate from this place of knowing you're whole, there's nothing missing, you're not lacking anything, and then move forward, then you have this beautiful opportunity to continue growing and evolving. Because, of course,
Yeah.
I'm not saying we're not going to continue to grow and evolve. But if you think about growing and evolving, that feels a little bit different from healing and fixing and improving, right? That is all coming from like a lack and scarcity. I don't have enough. I'm not good enough. And the truth is you already are. And I know that can be hard to actually embody and actually believe for yourself. But if you're out there listening, I want you just to take this in just for a moment. You are enough. You are more than enough, just as you are. Like just breathe that in and allow it to land within you because it's the truth. And since we're talking about the truth, a lot of people are always not sure. They're like, I don't know if I'm making the right decision or the wrong decision, and I'm not sure which way to go. Here's how I suggest people approach discernment. Love is the truth. Fear is not the truth. Fear is a lie. Fear is about safety. People talk about self-sabotage here. I'm talking about more topics on my podcast. Go check out season 3 for any of these relevant pieces that you're like, oh, I would like to hear more about that.
Mm-hmm.
Self-sabotage is not really someone being like, I'm going to mess this up on purpose. I'm going to, nobody goes out to make themselves fail on purpose. It is a safety mechanism. It is about protection. It is about keeping you safe in most likely what's familiar and comfortable, right? Which does require, a bit of gumption, a bit of courage to go out and step outside and toe that line. You don't have to do it all at once. You don't have to leap off the edge. But every time you do just a little expansion,
Yeah.
it adds up. And eventually you find yourself exploring possibilities and opportunities, just like you said, that you had no idea even existed. And so that's magical. You don't even have to become someone else. You just literally stepping into your fullest expression is where the magic is. And it sounds really simple because it is simple, but it's not that easy to do,
Yeah.
right? Because our worthiness can get in the way of that.
Yeah, and
It
we're our
can.
own worst critics already. So it's like
It
having
can
to
be.
shift from those limiting beliefs about ourselves and being
Mhm.
hard on ourselves is what makes it even harder to step into that and really, really own who we are. But I love that because you're right. There is that different perspective of becoming someone else. I want to be better. I want to do this and this and that. But we all already are that. And I love that you bring that
Yeah.
perspective. And it's like what we don't, I guess, realize is that as we work on being our authentic selves, we do become her. We become the woman that we know we
Yeah.
were always meant to be. And so it's like if you look
Yeah.
at it that way, you can't do that though if you don't work on what you need to for yourself, and whatever that is for you too. Like everyone's in a different place. Some people are really confident in certain areas and then they have their doubts and fears in others.
Mhm.
So that's another thing about being real with yourself. There's a difference between being hard on yourself and being real with yourself. And it's like it's okay to be real about like the things that you're not so happy with. And then there's also that
Yeah.
case of try not to be so hard on the things you don't have control over, right? And don't be everyone wants
So
to
many
do
rules.
right. There is always so many rules. Exactly. There's so many, but that's what it's about though. It's like you gotta find what works for you. You gotta figure out what is it that you need. Do you need the support? Do you need the help? Do you need to make a change in your life? Or do you need to just start accepting yourself a little more? Self-acceptance is such a huge thing that I don't think people really talk about, but it's something
Absolutely.
I'm so passionate about because had I accepted who I was from the get-go, I can imagine the confidence, the self-love I would have had, but I didn't accept myself because I never felt like I was good enough. I never felt like I fit in anywhere or I was pretty enough or I didn't have the money, I didn't have this, I didn't have that, and because I didn't accept who I was, I fell into what society told me I needed to be. I fell into the wrong crowds and being influenced easily to do things that I were terrible for myself. And I became what I thought people wanted me to be. And
Yeah.
that's so it's exhausting, it's draining, it's just awful to have to fall into that, all because you just can't accept who you are. And I feel like we need to work on, because not just the self-acceptance for us, but think about our children. Don't you want them to accept themselves for who they are and know that they're perfect just the way they are? They don't have to change all this stuff about themselves in order to be accepted or to be loved or to feel good about themselves. Like, I know for me, I want my kids to truly love who they are just the way they are, because they're not an accident. They were made just the way they were meant to be made.
Mhm.
And they are loved. They should be loved for who they are. And if somebody doesn't want to accept them for that, that's their own prerogative. Like, I just want to instill that in anyone out there who's so confused about their identities or not sure or feel like no one's going to accept them for who they are. Yes, they are. Like, you've got to know,
Yep.
but first of
You're
all,
people.
foremost, exactly, you're people, but it doesn't even matter. Like, the first and foremost things is you. You have to accept that. And once you do, you
Yeah.
will attract the right people, and the hell with the rest of them. You know what I mean? So what if no one else wants to accept you? It's not about them, it's about you and what makes you happy at the end of the day. And so that's where we have to get that line between trying to be what you think people want you to be and
Mhm.
just being who you are.
And
I
that's even a gap too, right? And I talk about that because not only we think we're being who other people want us to be, but that's just our idea of what we think that they want us to be. So that's not even actually it, right? We're leaping
yeah,
and we
or
we're not getting the results that we want because we may fit in, we may get surface level acceptance for being someone who fits in, but
yeah.
that's not what we're really after. And as Brene Brown always says, like fitting in is the opposite of belonging, right? So what
Mm,
we actually want is to belong, which is to bring our whole selves
yeah.
and to be accepted just as we are. And your people will fucking love you just as you are. And they'll be like, what are you doing when you're being weird,
Yeah.
right? Right. Like I had a friend, she has a name that's like more difficult to announce. And so on occasion, she would pronounce it like the very like English way. It's
Mhm.
like a French name, but she would pronounce it very English for people. And I'm like, what are you doing? That's not your name. Like,
Yeah.
right. So simple things like that, like just tell them your actual name. I don't care. Who gives a shit if they don't know how to pronounce the French accent part of it. Right. Like, or if they're confused, like that's another thing I want to add here, just that your commentary made me think of. Happy people don't go around judging
Yeah.
or criticizing other people. They just don't. And so if someone out there is judging you or criticizing you or telling you this, besides that, in addition to that, big business, billion-dollar industries have been designed to tell you you are not good enough and that you need their products to feel better. Okay, you will never get there because the standard is some version of perfection that nobody has actually achieved. Not even the supermodels on the front of the magazine look like that.
Yeah.
Okay, they look like that for a moment with Photoshop and probably with dehydrating themselves so they can have, some definition for like 10 minutes so they can get the shot and then she can maybe resume eating and drinking again. Like it's not,
Yeah.
you're aiming for something that's not real.
Yeah.
Hey, we're also the anti-aging. I don't even want to get started on this.
Oh, God.
I'll get so mad about the anti-aging, the diet culture. It just pisses me
Yes,
right
ma'am.
off
Yes.
because they have convinced you that there's something fucking wrong with you and there's not,
Not.
right? There's nothing wrong with you. It's normal to
Yeah.
age and get some wrinkles and to get some gray hairs and I'm in my 40s to gain some weight and to these things are normal. Take care of yourself and fuck those rules. Those rules are all made up.
Yeah, well,
You decide.
exactly, it's a sales tactic. They're just trying to sell you products, and that's what they're going to paint this picture of what you
Yep.
they know they want you to believe you need in order to
Yep.
be
You're broken.
happy. Yeah,
Yep.
and they
And then you'll be
prey
happy. Yep. Yep.
exactly, and
Exactly.
they love to prey on people like you who are in the people who are insecure, the people who are not strong in their identities, and so that's why we're like I'm doing what I'm doing too, because I'm so
Yeah.
tired of that. Because Lord knows I've fallen into that too, and I
I
don't
have
want to
to.
do that to anybody else. I genuinely want people to love who they are, work on themselves and do what they need for them, not what everyone tells you you should do or what you have to do in order to be happy. You need to find that for yourself and define that for yourself.
Yeah.
too.
I mean, you won't find the happiness out there in someone else's
No.
success list or
Yeah.
happiness. Like it's not out there. Happiness is in you. And the truth is, if you cannot find, like I say, this happiness, this intended state of being, it's your natural way of being. If you
Yeah.
can't find this because you got so much gunk in the way, you're the only one that can clear that away so you can see clearly what you truly are. You are magical. You are magnificent. You're a miracle. You're perfect just as you are. You're already whole and complete. There is nothing missing, broken, or wrong about you. Period. You are enough. You are
Ah,
worthy of all of it.
Christy,
Until you get to that, I
yes,
hope, Mary, I hope you're feeling that.
I am. I am. I love it. I love
And I
it.
hope the listeners out there are really feeling that
Mhm.
too, because you have been duped by a lot of these industries. Not only are they swooping in to tell you that their product will save the day, they're literally creating the narrative that creates the need for it by telling you that you're not good enough. So stop buying their bullshit,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you love makeup, wear makeup. If that makes you feel good about you, do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But don't do it because you need to, because you're ugly without it, or because the world has told you that you're not good enough unless you look a certain way.
Yeah.
No, that will keep you chasing things that will never bring you happiness. This is exactly the junk that's in your way
Yeah.
that you can't access that intended state of being. But you can clear it away and you
Yeah.
can find freedom, and you deserve that, because that is, you coming back to yourself. That's where the magic happens, is literally your purpose here on this planet. I believe we are the divine having a human experience. And so it is about the experience. What are you creating for yourself? What are you allowing other people to create for you that you just no longer want to be available for? And come back to you standing in your power, you choosing. How are you going to have this experience? You always have a choice. I know in many moments, it does not feel like you have a choice, because when you're in survival mode, I do talk about this in my first book, our brains just literally like go on, I could kind of call it like power save mode, where extraneous things like critical thinking are offline so that you can just survive. So you're not seeing those opportunities, those possibilities, those choices. You just aren't seeing them. It's the way your brain filter works to keep you focused on what is known and familiar and safe. It's a safety mechanism. It's a survival mechanism. And so the first piece is becoming present, becoming, aware of what is here now, not being stuck in the past, not, having anxiety about the future, but literally being present in this here and now moment. This is where you can choose, right? A couple of deep breaths to help you cycle through any initial survival mode response. And then the choices appear as though magic before you, and new ones you never thought existed will appear too. And then you have the choice.
Yeah.
Do you want to respond in this way or that way? When you're in survival, you just react, right? You don't, this is when you react and then you feel badly about it after, right? Because you've reacted instead of just taking a moment to breathe, to come into the now moment, and then to choose how you wish to respond. And this is powerful. When we're in the habit of being in survival mode, we don't even see that that's even a possibility. So we can be out there just reacting. Oh, everything is just happening. Life is shitty. I'm just buried under it.
Yeah.
But if we just take some time to be intentional, and I'm not talking a lot of time. When I first started meditating, and actually it was these really fun sweary meditations that I can share with your listeners. They're 5-minute quickie meditations. They're not like your, I think in one of them I said, like, this is not like your grandma's like Om Shanti kind of meditation. It's fun. It's going to bring up fun emotions. It's going to help you to release what you no longer need and come into a place where you can see more clearly. And from this place of seeing more clearly, now you can consciously create. Now you can choose with intention. Who are you going to be? How are you going to respond? And what is the experience that you're going to create?
Awesome. And please do share that, because especially as busy moms, who doesn't have
They're
five
so
minutes,
fun.
5 minutes,
5
5 minutes
minutes.
to do for you, and to take that time to clear yourself and to really bring in some good, positive, fun energy. Heck yeah.
Yeah, they're
I
so fun.
definitely check that out. I love that. That is wonderful. And tell us too, before we end here, if somebody wanted to work with you, Christy, tell us how we can find you, and what does that look like?
Well, I am, like I said, I'm all about the whole ass human. And so I love to meet people where they're at. I have a lot of different ways that you can enter my world. I mainly hang out on Facebook. So if just connecting feels right for you, I would love to invite you to connect on Facebook. Let me know where you came from. I would love to know that. And I also have a bunch of courses and freebies and different materials. I have stuff for people pleasers. I have, the sweary meditations are all on my website. And also I do like one-to-one mentorship packages. I have a couple of options there, but I'm also very open to tailoring something for you because I really do, desire to meet people where they're at and just walk along with them. That's why I kind of call myself an adventure guide. It's more of like a mentor role. I know my website is actually coachchristyholt.com, but I do see myself more as a guide or a mentor than a coach. It's just, that's the website. That's what it is. So coachchristyholt.com, I'll get to that as well. But yeah, I would love to connect. I would love your feedback. I would love to hear if you got any aha moments or any nuggets from this conversation. So, drop them in the comments below as well. And I'm sure Mary will, let me know if
Of
there's
course.
questions. Happy to answer those as well. But yeah, I love new friends. So come on over into my world. There's room at my table here for you.
I love it. You got to check out her podcast, get her book. I mean, it's incredible, Christy, everything that you're doing and all that you have to offer. And we would love to hear from you all. Please let us know, what did you take away from this? And what was your favorite part of it? How did this help you today? Like, please share this and let us know. We want to engage with you all. We care and want to hear from you. You take the time to listen to us and we're here for you. So utilize that. Talk to us, it's what we're all about. And Christy, of course, I always open the floor. Is there any final thought, word, or advice you'd like to share with the listeners before we end?
I feel like I've really stated all of my key things that I was like really just packing it all in there.
I could talk to you all day, I'll tell you.
I know, right?
I love it.
I'm trying to think of like something that I often say, a little nugget. I guess we didn't really talk about self-compassion. And I will say that self-compassion is actually a huge catalyst for lasting change because we have often been told that we need maybe like negative influence as motivation. I'm not even sure where this idea came from, but like guilting or shaming ourselves, people have this idea that that's going to motivate them to change. And I call bullshit because actually just if it does help you change, it's a miserable process, first of all. So that's not is not very conducive to lasting change when the whole process is really miserable. And you are worthy of compassion, just as your best friend is. You're human. You're going to make mistakes. We all do. In fact, I don't even believe in mistakes as a failure or a problem. They're just part of how we learn and grow. And so if you can give yourself compassion, that is going to go a long way, right? If you can just love yourself where you're at, like you spoke to acceptance, that is a complete game changer. Now, you don't have to love that your arm jiggles. You don't have to be like, oh, I love that. That's awesome. No, not that. But like, you have to recognize where you're at. You can't see. If you can't see it, you can't change it, right? So you don't know what you don't know. This is simply about bringing it into awareness and saying like, oh, okay, I got this arm jiggle. This is where I'm at. I want to change that. Okay. What do I need to do? What would someone who doesn't have arm jiggle? Why do they not have arm jiggle? Oh, they're working out fairly consistently. Okay, so I'm gonna start doing that, right? And this is my intention that I'm creating to be happy with that, but I'm taking action, right? So it's not a hope and a dream and a prayer. It is, okay, I see this thing and I accept that this is my starting point. Because otherwise, if I'm denying it, I'm not going to actually change it. I'm just going to stay in denial and stay frustrated with the situation. If I decide I accept this is where I'm starting, but I can change that. I have the power to change that. Then I can start doing those things. And then sometimes you find out, I don't actually care that much, right? Like, and that's okay too. You're like, well, you know what? Actually, this is a lot of work, and I don't know if I'm really down for that. Like, I know what it takes as a nutrition coach to have a very sleek figure. I have never been the person who wants to put in that level of effort. I'm talking hours in the gym and being very particular with your diet. And that's not me. I love chocolate. I love pizza. I love long hikes in the mountains. And so I'm like, find my balance in that, but it doesn't involve a six pack. So, right. It's just finding out what works for you and what you want to create.
Exactly.
So again, all of this, just come back to you. Come back to what works for you. Love and accept yourself where you're at is the starting point. And then just watch how magically you continue to evolve and grow and transform in new ways that you never thought were even possible.
Oh, that's beautiful, Christy. I absolutely loved our conversation today. I can't thank you enough for all that you've shared. And everything that you do to really help people in the way that you do. It's beautiful. We need more people like you in this world. And I just am so grateful and honored to have had someone like you come here on this show with us today. Thank you so much.
And thank you for creating this platform because I am a big believer in that our stories are powerful. They have the power to impact other people. And I really hope if you're listening, you're walking away feeling like, yeah, maybe I am enough just as I am. Maybe it's okay to just step into being more and more me. Maybe that's all right if I'm just showing up as authentically myself. And you know what? Maybe that's been the missing link all this time. And I hope that you do because it will absolutely change your life. And I am so grateful to be able to share and hopefully inspire other people to see the real power that they have within themselves.
Absolutely. As this way you can and unleash it in the
Mhm.
world because we need you too.
We
Like
need
there's
your
some
message.
exactly, we need you. Like everyone needs this. We need to really work to bring this
Yeah.
beautiful, positive love and kindness and energy and just believing that we are worthy and we deserve all that we want. And this is, I love it. I'm so grateful to be able to have this and be able to meet people like you. I cannot say that enough because it's truly a blessing. And I'm just so grateful that I made the decision to move forward with this when the opportunity presented itself. So I challenge you if there's something that comes your way and you're like, I don't know, but you kind of feel that calling for it, just do it. And just have fun with it. Like
You just might turn your mess, your so-called mess,
yes.
into a message that
Yes.
has transformative powers for the world. Literally, there is a woman out there waiting to hear
Yes.
your story too, right? To hear your story of what you went through and how you overcame it, because it will give her hope. It will give her inspiration. It will make her feel that she is not alone. Our
Oh,
stories are
yes.
so important.
It is. You never know that person you can impact and help change their life and help
Yeah.
save them even from going through some of the things you went through. And that is why it is so amazing that more and more of us are coming out and sharing our stories and having that courage to be vulnerable, to be real, to just be here and to
Just to
work and
be,
yeah
take up
exactly
space.
just to be right. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Chrissy, you are incredible. I'm so excited. I hope to bring you back on the show sometime. I think we can definitely talk more and more about
Yeah.
so many different topics. So I just thank you again so much for being here with us today.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me.
I am such a huge fan of Christy's, and I hope you enjoyed her spunkiness as much as I did. Here are the key takeaways from today's episode. You are not alone. If you feel lost in your identity as a mom, wife, or caretaker, know that many have been in your shoes. It's okay to acknowledge that something feels missing and to want more for yourself. Your past doesn't define your future. Every experience, even the challenging ones, has shaped who you are today. Instead of regretting past decisions, focus on what you can do now to move forward and create a life you love. Own your power. Recognizing your role in your circumstances isn't about blame, it's about empowerment. By taking responsibility for your growth, you reclaim the power to change your story. You deserve to be happy. Staying in a relationship or situation that feels stagnant or harmful doesn't serve you or your loved ones. If you've been waiting for permission to choose yourself, this is it. You have permission to prioritize your happiness and well-being. Trust yourself. You know your situation better than anyone. If you're questioning whether to stay or leave, trust your instincts. Your readiness to make a change is valid, even if it feels uncertain. Fear of the unknown is normal. Stepping into the unknown can be scary, but it's also where growth and magic happen. Embrace the discomfort. It's often the first step toward a life filled with possibilities you never imagined. You are capable of change. Even if you feel stuck, you have the ability to make choices today that shift the direction of your life. Start small by asking, what can I do today to move closer to the life I want? Your identity is yours to define. If you've lost touch with who you are outside of your roles, it's time to reconnect with yourself. What lights you up? What calls to you? Answer that call, even if it feels uncomfortable or uncertain. Breaking cycles is hard, but worth it. Letting go of unhealthy patterns in relationships or life is challenging, but it's essential for your growth. You're not responsible for changing others, only for changing yourself and how you engage with your circumstances. The best decisions aren't always easy. Choosing yourself might feel daunting, but it's often the most liberating and transformative decision you can make. You're worthy of a life filled with joy, fulfillment, and alignment. Be sure to tune into Christy's amazing podcast and check out her books. All of her links are in the show notes for your convenience. Also, let us know. We want to hear from you. What was your favorite takeaway from today's episode? If you are struggling with any of these things, know that me and Christy are here to support you. We also would greatly appreciate your support. If you found this episode valuable, please share it with your fellow moms and someone who needs to hear this. It is our purpose and our mission to help spread this positivity and empowerment for anyone out there so that you start taking action today. If you need further support on this, visit me at marydibblecoaching.com to learn more. I'm here for you, and I really do appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in with me each week. Until next time, much love.